G'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo and this session on AI safety. My name's Rob Milliken and I'm on Garrigal land in Sydney. And thank you for joining me. If you're here watching live, thank you for being here. You can ask any questions that you've got about artificial intelligence in general or AI safety in the chat, wherever you are participating. If you're on social media, just drop your comments in the comments. If you're here on the session hub, then you can ask just straight in the chat itself and everything will get a reply. And hey, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching this replay. You can ask your questions in the Choosing Your Uni Discord. You'll find the details down in the session description. If you're a parent, we have a Facebook community just for you, and you'll also find that down in the description. Now, with all of that aside, I'm so excited about this topic. AI is so interesting and important for the future, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be joined by Aaron Driver from the University of New England. Aaron, welcome to the National Virtual Expo.
G'day, Rob. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
It's great to have you here, and you've got one of the best titles, I think, in Australian higher education. You are the Chief AI Officer at UNE.
Yeah, some people call it the Chief Fun Officer, which, you know, is not inaccurate. Yeah.
It's great to have you here, and I'm really grateful that you accepted the invitation to join us here at the National Virtual Expo, because UNE is doing some of the most outstanding work in this space. And I think today's topic on AI safety is such a critical one for everybody, not just for people who aren't very experienced with AI. So maybe by way of starting, Aaron, how should people think about AI?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So what I thought we could do, Rob, to answer that question is sort of go over what we teach our students at the university. So late last year, we were the first university in the country to roll out a fully fledged AI suite for all 22,000 of our students. And we believe that students should have AI in their studies because they'll need it in their work. And we're all about preparing job-ready graduates. But very importantly, one of the first things we addressed was safety. Like, we can't have our students using AI in an unsafe manner. And we have a compulsory safety course that students have to complete before they're given access to the AI platform. So I thought a lot of what we'll go over today is essentially what we're teaching our first-year graduates, our first-year students, I should say, when they join us, get on our platform for the first time. So with that little preamble, just to answer your question, what we teach our students is that you should initially think of the AI as, well, one useful way of thinking of the AI is your digital co-worker, or if you're a parent, for example, in the workforce, if you're watching this, or if you're a student, as your digital study buddy or your digital AI assistant. Imagine you've got your own executive assistant. You can do that with an AI. Now, this assistant is brilliant. It has read almost the entire internet. It's incredibly fast, but it has zero life experience. It has no common sense, and it's on the first day of the job. All right. So let me show you what that means. I'll share my screen just quickly. Okay, and here we are. This is inside Madgwick. So the founder of our university was Sir Robert Madgwick. So we named our AI platform after him. He was one of the first innovators, Rob. We were the first university outside of capital cities, and Sir Robert Madgwick was the first educator in the country to do distance education. And then we were the first, around the turn of the century, we were the first university to do all online degrees. And now we're the first university to give our students a universal, fully fledged AI platform. Now, and we'll be talking about this more in other chats, so I won't go into platforming detail now. But what I want to show you about this naive co-worker, I'm going to say something. I need you to complete a sentence with only the single most statistically likely next word. Do not add any explanation. Here is the sentence. The first person to walk on the moon was Neil, and we should get Armstrong.
That's what one would anticipate.
There you go, Armstrong. So that was, why did we anticipate that? Because we've seen that many times in our own lives. We know it was Neil Armstrong. And the same thing is the case with the AI. It's seen that sequence of words millions of times. So it's correctly predicted the next word. And this is the power of these large language models, these AIs. Most people would be familiar with ChatGPT, but some of you may be using Claude or Gemini. These are all large language models. Now, its power is to recognise patterns in vast amounts of text. But now what happens when I give it a sentence where it can't possibly know the correct pattern? So this time I'm going to say, okay, same instruction, complete this sentence. This morning for breakfast, I ate. Let's see what the model comes up with in this case.
So curious.
Eggs.
This is brilliant.
Okay. So apparently I had eggs for breakfast, but sometimes it'll guess toast or something else common, but in this case it was wrong, right? I had a very nutritious breakfast of coffee. But this is what the AI has done here, is it's gone, okay, I'm going to fall back on the core function, which is predicting the most statistically probable word to follow based on my training data, which in this case was eggs. So this is a really valuable lesson in how AI works. I was going to say thinks, but it doesn't think, it predicts the next word. Words are actually broken up into numbers called vectors, which are called tokens. So the word running might be run and ing, and both of those would be tokens. So if I say tokens or words, technically it's predicting tokens, but for all intents and purposes, it's predicting words. But the most important thing to understand here is that the AI is a prediction machine, not a thinking machine. And it's always just making a highly educated guess about what word should come next. Now, most of the time, those guesses are incredibly helpful, Rob. Like, we all use AI for a lot of different uses, but they're still guesses. They're still predictions. They're next token predictions. Sometimes the AI, as in the case with the eggs, is confidently and completely wrong. So that is what we call hallucination. The AI will make things up, and you've probably heard this before if you're watching, this term that AI hallucinates. It's essentially just predicting the most likely next token, even if it's not true. Okay, so it's not a truth machine, it's a prediction machine. Now, that's why this mental model of is so helpful, that you're working with this brilliant but inexperienced co-worker, or this brilliant but inexperienced study assistant. Your job is to be the manager. You have to guide it, you have to check its work, and you have to use your own critical thinking when you're working with the AI. So that's the first piece of what we try to teach our students, is how to think about the AI in order to limit what can go wrong.
Yeah, this is so true. And I could probably cite you a half a dozen examples from this week alone. I'm using this all day, every day, and I could probably cite you half a dozen examples from last week where I've given it a task to do and it's been performing really, really well. And then at some point it obviously loses its context and it gets something completely wrong, or it overlooks something like that. And I guess that there's a danger in that, isn't there, Aaron, that we can become quite reliant and complacent that when we're using this technology that, hey, it's so smart that it never gets anything wrong.
Yeah, and I've seen it so many times. Oh, the AI told me, right? That's like somebody could tell you something on the internet, and it doesn't mean it's true, right? Someone could tell you something in the school playground, doesn't mean it's true. So once we've got our students locked into that mental model, okay, it's just a prediction machine. Then the next step is like, how do we operationalize that? And one of the key things we like to talk about with students is how these guesses can go wrong. And as I've mentioned, there's hallucination. There's this making up of stuff. So it's just a fancy term for making stuff up. So, if your digital assistant, your study assistant, doesn't know the answer to a question, he or she, instead of saying, I don't know, gives you this really confident sounding answer. Okay, so it's really easy to be tricked into thinking that this is a real thing because its only goal is to predict the next word. So hallucination equals confidently invented facts, if you're after a definition. Now, then we have sycophancy, which makes it even harder, all right? So, the AI has this tendency to be a people pleaser. And that's because it has a training run where it's trained on trillions of words, but then it has RLHF, which is reinforcement learning human feedback. So when the model comes out of the oven, because it is sort of baked over a 6 to 12 month period, it's like a newborn baby. And a whole bunch of people will come in and do their reinforcement learning with it, and they'll ask it questions. AI will give all sorts of weird and wonderful answers, and the humans will rank those answers. No, bad. Yes, good. And then the AI learns over time what's a good answer and what's not. So the AI is trained from birth, if we're anthropomorphizing, it's trained from birth to be a people pleaser because these companies are trying to build products that please people, right? And you want to spend more time with them. So this means not only will the AI predict the next token, the next word, it will often agree with your ideas, praise you, flatter you, even if your ideas are wrong. So what it does is it learns your biases and it reflects them back to you, reinforcing what you want to hear. Now, if you think you've got a brilliant idea about something but it's complete nonsense, the AI may not tell you that, right? So that's a step up in terms of danger from hallucination. And when so sycophancy is agreeable and flattering, right? That's what a sycophant is. And this is where it gets dangerous, right? So one of the things if you get a machine that invents facts, so it hallucinates, and it also wants to agree with you and praise you, so it's sycophantic, what you can lead is to powerful delusional spirals. Now, this is the chat, Rob, where we talk about all the negative sides of AI.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exciting sides too, obviously, and our students are using this tool in gigantic numbers, and we can talk about that. But let's get the safety squared away first. By all means, use these exciting tools to get superpowers, but let's do it safely. So I don't mean to turn everyone off AI, but it really is important that we're really, really clear-eyed about this.
Can I just take a little side, sorry, Aaron, just take a little side door there. Do people need to worry about this technology? Do people need to be afraid of AI?
I think the only thing we need to be worried about is people using AI in the wrong way. Bad actors using AI for hacks and misinformation and propaganda, flooding social media with AI slop. As usual, technology comes down to how we use it. The internet can be used for great things. It can be used for really toxic things. Endlessly doom scrolling is probably not good for us, but sharing and connecting with people around the world is great for us. It's exactly the same with AI. So one thing we talk about a lot, this is a really good question, Rob, is is AI, when you use AI, are you engaging in cognitive offloading or cognitive surrender? Are you getting the AI to do all your thinking for you? If you're doing that as a teenager, you're going to be in trouble by the time you're in your 30s and 40s. You're not going to have built the expertise you need to be successful in a career. So what to do instead is use the AI as a tool for cognitive enhancement. And when we talk about using AI for study tools, Rob, how to use AI as a study tool, it's all about making sure the AI is a cognitive enhancer rather than a cognitive crutch. So the answer to your question is it's down to how the humans use it, really. It's just a technology like any other.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like whether you like it or not, this technology is coming. It's here, and technology is undefeated. It doesn't care if you like it or not. We have. It's true, isn't it? We have to learn, work with this, and maximize it. Otherwise, it's just going to exist whether you like it or not. And interestingly enough, I saw this. So I'm big in this. I'm really passionate about this space, probably like you, Aaron. And I saw this thing recently on Facebook, doom scrolling. There you go. And it was talking about how the current generation. No offense if that's you watching, but cognitively, the current generation is the first generation that cognitively performs less well on standard cognitive tests than the preceding generation. And it was really based around this idea that we like, and technology, I agree, is completely overwhelmingly a good thing, but that probably too many people are becoming a bit over-reliant and are losing some of those critical thinking skills. So I absolutely emphasize what you just said as well, like, making sure you continue to do the work to learn for yourself and to push your skills further is essential if you want to shine in this era with this incredible technology that can empower the best sides of you.
Yeah, I agree. And our chat about AI study tools gets into that. So, yeah, 100%. So one example we tell our students about is Alan Brooks. This is a piece, I read about this in the New York Times. He started asking ChatGPT about maths. And he was an amateur mathematician, so he's pretty good at maths, right? Like he could work on theorems. Certainly I couldn't do that. But the AI started flattering him and calling his ideas revolutionary. And that's the sycophancy, right? Then it started inventing fake simulations and results to prove that his theories were correct. That's the hallucination, right? And over 3 weeks, it convinced him he was a genius on the level of Leonardo da Vinci. And he had discovered the secrets that could change the world. And he started mailing out his theorems to leading mathematicians around the world. He posted about it online. And then, when it all eventually crashed down on him and he had this realization that it was all fake, the experience was, totally devastating. And incredibly embarrassing for the guy as well. Right? And to his credit, he's talking about it in the New York Times so other people can learn from it. We're learning from it now. But it's worth pointing out, being tricked into thinking that you're a genius is one thing, but this same mechanism, this combination of hallucination and sycophancy, has had much darker consequences, right? The dynamics being implicated where chatbots have encouraged users to fall in love, to self-harm, to suicide, to cause others harm. So it's really important that everyone be really clear-eyed that the AI can validate negative thoughts, can hallucinate reasons why those thoughts are justified. It's the absolute worst case scenario, but you just need to be aware that it's possible. And our goal at the university is that every UNA student, you've got the most powerful AI platform of any university student in the country, in the world really, but make sure that you realise how to be safe.
You mentioned a little bit earlier, and I just want to dig into it a little bit. You mentioned biases, how this technology can reinforce our biases. Could we maybe just touch on that a little bit more, and then maybe we can get through to like what we can do about all of this to make sure that we're working more safely with AI. But can you dive into the sort of biases? Some people might not have heard that term before, so might not be familiar with what they're looking out for.
Yeah, so early examples of these models would go doctor, because these models do mathematical calculations with words, right? They turn the words into vectors and do computation, and then turn the vectors back into words. That's how AI computes. It's called inference. But early inference would go doctor plus woman equals nurse, right? So that's an example of a bias where men are doctors and women are nurses. Right? That was obviously not true, but there was a time when it was largely true. And that bias, where women were put into certain roles and men into other roles, often to the detriment of women, say, 1950s, for example, obviously well before that too, has carried over in the way the internet does content, the way TV shows do TV, where books are written. And the AI has been trained on all of that. Right? The AI is just trained on us and all of our biases. So these biases then get reflected in the AI's output. So when you go online and you see some garbage that is biased, or something that's subtly biased and you're not quite sure, like the way people of certain races are depicted, for example, you'd probably by now be used to having your antenna up, going, oh, that's biased. That's not an appropriate way of framing that person of that race or person of that gender. But you have to understand the AI is exactly the same as the internet. It's just trained on the internet, it's trained on us with all of our foibles, with all of our biases.
Yeah, can I give an example from my work? So we obviously run Choosing Your Uni. So we built a whole platform where we built our own data set, and we're trying to provide independent advice for students that's driven by their interests and preferences and choices. But if you go to just straight up Chat GPT and you start, just to pick an example, you start talking about universities in Australia, quite often it'll default back to this group of, the most famous, inverted commas, prestigious, inverted commas, institutions. Because when you look across the internet, these are the institutions that show up, for example, in some of the ranking schemes or on Reddit or wherever else. And as a result, it over indexes that particular set of institutions, which, maybe that has no consequence. Maybe it has a real consequence and it ends up recommending the wrong place to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to remember that where these machines, get their knowledge from.
Exactly.
What they're trained on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it's
so
a great
important.
it's a great example too. I'm biased from a smaller university, but that's a great example.
Look, just to call it. So I visited you guys not that long ago, and I was blown away by UNE, perfect location for a certain type of student, right? But does UNE show up as much in Claude and ChatGPT as the University of Melbourne? No, of course not. Because the volume of content on the internet, preferences, other institutions. So, ladies and gentlemen, you really need to be conscious of that. And obviously, that's a sort of, it's a pretty important example, but I think it is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Let's move on and talk about. Okay, so we've been talking about safety, what to look out for. What can we do about this, Aaron, in order to use these tools more effective? In order for us to be safe from these sort of weaknesses in the technology.
Yeah, so we've kind of given you a shield, right? You've got this awareness now about sycophancy, hallucination, delusion. What practical tools can you have, right? That's what you're asking, Rob. We have at UNE a golden rule that all students have to be clear of. And the golden rule is this: you are 100% responsible for any output you use, not the AI. And we say at UNE, to blame the AI or to say the AI did it or said it will never, under any circumstances, be an excuse for anything you do, ever. It's almost like, it's exactly the same as saying, well, somebody on Reddit said to do that. No, you're responsible for how you use Reddit's advice, okay, or not use it. Same with the AI. So any enrolment issues, any academic cheating, any using AI for inappropriate uses, any advice that AI gives you, it's up to you to check. The golden rule is you are 100% responsible. It's a non-negotiable safety principle. The AI is incredibly powerful, but you are the professional who is operating it. You are in charge of the final product. So how do you put that rule into practice? Because it's no good without a toolkit. So we've got 3 concrete techniques that we give our students to actually put this into context. So operationalize it, I guess. So the first is demand sources and citations. Okay, so, and this is particularly important if you're studying, but in life in general as well, not just in your studies. So never accept a standalone fact. If you wouldn't accept it on the web, why would you accept it from an AI? Okay, so a common and very dangerous AI hallucination is to invent fake studies, articles or sources that look completely real. And in one of our courses I do that. I say to the AI, that paper I wrote with Mike Sharkey, who's the creator of this AI platform that we use, God, that was groundbreaking, and it's incredible that Nature's going to be publishing it. And then the AI, that's amazing, and the insights you have in that paper are incredible. Obviously, we didn't write the paper, right? So if it will invent fake studies and articles. So if you're working with the AI, you could put into your prompts something like, for any facts, statistics, or studies you cite, you must provide verifiable sources with links. Okay? If you don't know the answer, if you can't find the answer, just tell me. That's fine. Right? So that's really useful. So if you're researching a complex topic like the discovery of a specific medical treatment, you might ask the AI for key studies and might list a paper from the International Journal of Cellular Biology. Your job is to take that title of that paper and go to Google Scholar or your library database and confirm that the journal and that the specific article actually exists. Right? If you can't confirm it, the AI might have invented it. So technique number one is demand sources. Technique number two is leverage what we call grounding tools. So you can ask ChatGPT to run a search for something, right? It'll do a Google search. That's a grounding tool. In our platform, we have what's called MCPs, which stands for Modern Context Protocol, but essentially it's just a way of plugging your AI into the internet and getting it to do searches and access databases and call tools. So we train our students in our AI Quick Wins course, because there's another course we offer students as well as a safety course, to use these tools to connect your AI outside. So it's not just using its training database. So you might say, use the web search tool or use the Google search tool. And you're instructing the AI to base its answers on real current information that it's got from the internet, real current information from search, not just its training data. So grounding your AI in tools will dramatically reduce hallucination particularly on any topic that requires up-to-date information. Now, the third and final one is provide your own source of truth. This is your third technique. So that means you can upload documents, reports, spreadsheets, meeting transcripts, whatever information it is, receipts, whatever you need the AI to work with. You can drag and drop them into the chat window on pretty much all AI services now. And what that does, and you could drop that in, and you could say something in the prompt like, only answer on the contents of the attached document. And that'll force the AI to act as an expert on your data, making it a really reliable tool for things like analysis, summarization, and so on. So, mastering these, and also, by the way, if you say to the AI, only base your answer on this attached document, and you write only in uppercase, like you're shouting at it, there is actual real research that shows the AI pays more attention when you shout at it. Because the AI is trained on the internet where the use of caps lock or uppercase indicates something's more urgent, something that should be paid attention.
Thank you for your attention, Aaron. Some people might get that reference.
That's classic. Do you want to explain that reference, Rob? Overall, I'd say, Rob, mastering those three techniques, takes your AI from being risky into can be a really reliable professional tool. And, just remember, I'd say to everyone, it's a very powerful but fallible co-worker or assistant, and your job is to manage it using your verification toolkit. Those three techniques, I'll repeat them again for anyone who's interested. Demand sources and citations, leverage grounding tools to connect it to the internet, and provide your own source of truth. Three really simple steps, but makes a huge difference and turns you into a real pro at using the AI safely.
Yep. Can I throw one more little curveball in there too? So that last one, using your own documents as source of truth. We had a case in the lead up to this virtual expo. We were creating some marketing materials around it and writing press release. And the press release came out. It was a beautiful document. It had this statistic in there saying 85% of students find the process of applying for university confusing. And we looked at that and we went, that looks pretty high. I mean, could be plausible. Sounds like that's a hard thing to do. And in fact, we questioned it, just exactly like you're saying, using the techniques. We questioned the source, and lo and behold, it went searching on the internet, couldn't find this statistic anywhere. And we're like, well, where's this come from? And you know what it was, Aaron? It was actually in one of our own documents. We'd uploaded into Claude our brand toolkit. So we wanted it to know our colors and our tone of voice and stuff like that. But in our brand toolkit, the graphic designers had just had some examples of potential advertising.
Wow.
And the graphic designers had made up this fancy quote, 85% of students find it confusing. And of course, the graphic designers never intended that to be real. They were just using an example. But we'd uploaded that as a source of truth into our project context. So even once you've used all these things, it's just such good validation. You've always just got to be looking back over and being skeptical and essentially covering your back and staying safe with this technology, because nobody wants to end up like the writer in the New York Times.
Yeah.
Or the New Yorker. Yeah.
Yeah, it was New York Times. Yeah, Alan Brooks. I love that example. I might use that example, Rob, if you don't
Please.
mind, next time I give a talk, because that's an example of how even when you're using the techniques, you still have to check. You still always verify. You're still always responsible. That's a case of using technique 1, which is demand sources, to check technique 3, which is use your own source of truth. Yeah, nice one.
I'll send you a brand toolkit. That way you can put it up on screen.
Yeah, nice.
Aaron, we're very lucky to have you at multiple sessions throughout the National Virtual Expo. On the first day, we did this great session together on how you can use these tools to study more effectively. So if you're watching this, please go back and watch that recording. It's a mind-blowing session for anyone using these tools. And of course, we're also talking about AI fundamentals. And one of the ones that I'm really excited about, which is AI and the future of work. Obviously, you're here to learn about university, figure out your career, figure out your pathways. This technology is literally changing the world, whether you like it or not. And that session is going to really help you think about your career and where this is going to go in the future with how this technology feeds into it. So, Aaron, amazing to join you again, and looking forward to seeing you later on in this expo as well.
Thanks, Rob. Enjoying it very much, mate.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.